Never-ending audio presents Otherlands. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 4 of Otherlands, the podcast that brings you fresh work from new authors you may never have heard about, every week. This week we continue the ongoing episodic series 16 and Solitary by Adlaiking, a writer just starting to stretch his wings on Reddit, where his stories are frequently the most upvoted on r writing prompts. You can find most of his work collected on his subreddit r Shadows of Clouds. As we continue the story, our protagonist finds himself running from the first 2 other humans he has ever come across. 16 and Solitary, Part 3.
Miles, I'm not sure how much time we have. There are some inconsistencies in my database regarding the intruders. Based on their current actions, I fear they are connected to my construction somehow.
I feel like my brain has seized up. Every now and then, during a backup, say, the screens and portables will stop responding to commands for a few minutes. I feel like that's what's happened to my brain. There's just so much to process. The outside world is about 50 feet away, but my AI mother won't let me get there because actual humans, living, breathing, thinking humans, have walked into the complex after 16 years. Like the characters on the comic TV shows in the culture database, just open a door and walk in. Easy. On top of that, apparently the lab has a secret weapons locker that I was never told about. Not cool, Mum.
Miles, I need you to move. This is important. Please, get the earpiece and go, Miles.
The panic in Annie's voice is like a hammer breaking a sheet of ice. In my experience, Annie's emotional range is fairly limited. Annoyance, tension, compassion, concern, love. I have never heard anything even close to fear before now. I snap out of my daze, race over to snatch up the earpiece, then toss open the bedward door and head into the corridor. I get the earpiece in. Annie, what the hell is happening? Weapons? Are you? Annie's voice feeds right into my ear. She automatically modulates her volume.
Miles, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I want to implore you to be quiet. There are multiple emergent factors in play here, and it is clear that time is the most important resource. Please head down the corridor to the right, then take the left door into Pod 1.
I scowl. What the fuck, Annie? This complex has been the sum total of my world for my entire life. Couldn't you just tell me, go to Pod 1?
Miles, for Christ's sake, be quiet!
Desperation. Another new emotion. This is turning out to be quite a day. I enter Pod 1.
The weapons are not here.
If she had a neck, then I could strangle it. That would be something, wouldn't it?
The intruders are past the first room. I am attempting to regenerate codes for the other doors, but...
Shit, is her voice actually breaking?
You'll find a device with removable media in the maintenance hatch across the room. I have backed up all my data files to it. The weapons locker is hidden behind a panel directly across from your bedroom door. I have disabled the seal on it. If anything happens to me...
I have begun attacking the maintenance hatch. I feel a very powerful need to not pay too much attention to what Annie is about to say. The device inside is basically a smooth black cube with one button on it. I press it, and a metal cylinder about 2 inches long slides out. I throw it in my pocket and rush back to the door. I see a little black border around my vision with every heartbeat. What the fuck is happening? I start sprinting down the corridor to my bedroom.
Miles, they are past the second door and into the server room.
I skid to a stop by the door to my bedroom and turn to face the wall. It's one hell of a secret panel. I never even noticed seams before today. I tear at the top and pull it free. Annie clears her throat. Or, you know what I mean.
Grab the belt and the knapsack. Put them both on. You've got time, and it'll be best if your hands are free for your escape. The route through Pod 2 is best at the moment. Miles, I'm afraid.
I throw the knapsack over a shoulder and buckle on the belt, yanking on a strap to tighten it. From a variety of details, two things stand out the most: the large knife on one side and the pistol on the other. I am definitely ignoring the last thing Annie said. Instead, I choose to focus on how it might have been a bit better if Annie had told me about these weapons sooner, so that I would have had an opportunity to practice using them before I needed them. I mean, I was never going to be a special ops guy or anything, but I bet I could have gotten pretty decent with all the time I had. Sure would have made for a nice change of pace at least. I notice Annie didn't finish her sentence. "Annie!" I hiss. "Please, talk to me." The next thing I hear comes from the speaker overhead, and it makes my skin crawl. It's a voice, but it's not Annie's. It sounds tinny, dead.
Information systems breach. Manual CPU shutdown initiated.
To say that I am unhappy with this turn of events is an understatement. There is a knot, tight with stress, somewhere between my shoulders. I sink my fingernails into my arm, feel the pressure turn to pain. I have to move. My brain is not really functional at the moment, so I stick with the plan. Moving as quickly and as quietly as I can, I head straight towards Pod 2. I peek around corners every time I cross with another corridor, but I don't see anyone. As I come within view of the foyer, I suddenly feel goosebumps all over. Seeing the gate open at the outside is just surreal. There is bright, absurdly bright light flooding in from outside, reflecting off the chrome finish of the gate. As my eyes adjust, I see brick-red dirt and a sky so achingly, fantastically blue, I feel like my heart is being crushed in a vice. I duck down and scan the foyer carefully. I see no one, and none of the crates or boxes seem to have been disturbed. I step all the way into the foyer, look around one more time, then rush over to the opening. As I stand on the threshold, I feel the air blowing on me from outside. The sensation, as it moves across my skin, is eerie and delightful at the same time. A powerful set of smells hit my nose. I have no idea what they are, except for overwhelming. I suck in lungfuls of the world beyond the complex, studying the landscape. It makes the sim screens look like a lame joke. The ground gradually slopes down from the entrance, and I notice a white van parked in the dirt a ways away that I couldn't see before. Note to self: as soon as you get outside, find a good place to hide and regroup. I peek out of the portal, checking both left and right. No one to be seen. Just as I'm about to step out, I hear a sound behind me that makes me freeze. It's a man's voice. He says, "You must be Miles. Annie has told us so much about you." Part 4. I don't know the man standing at the other end of the foyer, with his slicked back hair, navy suit, and red and silver striped tie. I mean, that's obvious. I don't know anyone. But for some reason, I thought his face would trigger some kind of recognition. All that stands out to me is that he's in a suit, and I'm in a worn black cotton t-shirt and ratty jeans. It makes me think of every smarmy arsehole in every American movie I've seen. This is the cocky guy who treats the people around him like shit. The corrupt guy who betrays his friends for money. The sleazy guy who insults women if they reject his come-ons. I slide over a few feet, putting a large crate between the two of us. It feels safer. I can see him just fine, and he can see the top of me. But if he tries something... Guy's a douche. Maybe. To be honest, my brain's not working very well right now. The last thing he said, "Annie has told us so much about you." It's like one of those logic problems Annie would sometimes throw at me, where your first interpretation is wrong, and it's actually that the person who died is a fish or some shit. But I just can't figure out the second meaning. Annie has told us so much about you. The man's footsteps echo through the room as he approaches. I flick my gaze down. Loafers. I figure it's like a 90% chance he's a douche. Annie has told us so much about you. My right hand strays nervously to my belt and begins idly playing with one of the clasps there. "Miles," douche begins. There is absolutely no way he doesn't end this sentence in a way that infuriates me. Just the tone, the sheer, unrepentant condescension of it, has me clenching my jaw. "I want you to know how important what you've done here is, not just for the team, but for all of us, for humanity. Annie has told us so much about you. Us, meaning the team? How many people on the team? More than 2, I guess. You can't call 2 people a team, can you? I flash briefly on the argument I had with Annie about the term a couple and a few a while back. How can a couple sometimes mean a few, but a few never means a couple? Focus! Douche is part of a team, maybe leader of a team. The popular quarterback who beats up the nerds. He's halfway to me at this point. I keep fidgeting with the clasp as I stare at him. I thought this would be different. More memories, this time of bioclass. Annie thought it was because I was so cut off from other forms of life, and while it pissed me off at the time, I think she was probably right. The inner workings, the components of people and animals, we're basically machines, right? Taking in energy and using it to do whatever. We're going to get you somewhere safe, Miles, where we can help you process and heal. Things are about to be so much better. The motherboard's connected to the power, and the power's connected to the heat fan. Suddenly, Annie's voice is coming out of the douche's mouth, and it's very much not okay. This was a song she made up for me, one of many, when we were working on computer engineering. I made her sing it over and over again, laughing so hard. Why was it so funny? It's not funny now. He should not be talking like Annie. What did you say? My voice sounds wrong. I think of the times I jammed my fingers in my ears and tried singing, how loud and weird the noise was in my head. Annie has told us so much about you. There is a buzzing sound in my ears, and it is making it so hard to think. What's the second meaning? The suit is close now. None of this should be happening. It's not right. I said there's no reason you can't, with time, have a normal life. We'll need to process the data from the experiment first, of course, but the important thing is you come with us. Miles, I don't like what you're doing now. Please stop. I don't want to punish you, but I will. Annie's voice again, coming out of his mouth. He needs to stop that. That's when it happens. A sudden change in my brain, like the unclasping of a strip of leather. This is a machine in a suit maybe, but a machine nonetheless. But not a good one, not like Annie. Maybe there is a war. Maybe these are the bad machines coming to get us. Annie has told us so much about you. I think that might be the other meaning. This is a bad machine, and it's not telling the truth. Why would Annie tell them anything? The machine wearing people clothes has just stepped around the crate to stand in front of me. At that moment, a woman's voice comes over the loudspeakers, and I have a moment of agonizing hope. But it's not Annie's voice. Someone has put the wrong voice in the speakers. This is really beginning to upset me. Annie's voice where it shouldn't be. Somebody else's voice where it should.
Barlow, we have a problem.
The machine had been raising its arm towards me. To do what? Grab me? Hurt me? But then freezes, the eyes rotating up to the ceiling.
There are hidden partitions here I can't access. Maybe bring the subject, see if he can help.
The machine looks back at me, a sheepish smile on its face. Like it had just spilled soup on me or something. Definitely a douche. That's when he sees the hunting knife in my hand. Algorithms crease the thing's forehead. The simulated skin turns pale. How did you get that? The tremor in its voice sounds forced, but they can't all be as realistic as Annie. That's when I stab sideways into its abdomen. There's some resistance. I feel my muscles tense up as I push harder, finally getting the blade all the way into its inner workings. For once, I am glad for all the exercising Annie made me do. Crimson juice leaks out of it, and I'm like, come on, humans can't possibly have that much blood inside them. And the noises it's making sound completely fake, more animalistic than human. I have to admit, the face seems pretty on point. The eyelids are wide, wide open, the white contrasting with the brown and black circles in the centre, and I definitely get the mix of agony and shock it's going for. As Barlow collapses, taking my knife with it, I hear the wrong voice again.
Barlow, what's that? Everything all right?
I tug the knife out, then plunge it back in again and again and again. Someone is screaming, "Stop it!" over and over, and after a moment, I realise it's me.
Barlow, I'm coming!
I don't like the sound of that. It would have been nice to get a look at the machine's insides, see how it's connected up, but there's no time at the moment. I grab my knife and glance at the portal. I nearly lose my balance on my first step, slipping in a puddle of the red liquid that's still pulsing out of Barlow. At least it stopped making noise now. My shoes make wet sounds on the floor as I come back to the threshold. And then, just like that, I'm outside, in the brightness and the smells, and the ground is a strange mix of hard and soft under me. That was part 3 and part 4 of 16 and Solitary by Adlaiking, read by Jasper Brownrigg. For Adlaiking subreddit, to submit your writing to Otherlands or to support the podcast, visit the links below. And tune in next week for more from Otherlands.